In today's video, I'm going to share my first impressions getting back into the seat of my 2008 Lotus Elise SC after spending the last 3 months in this Lotus Emira. These cars are my daily drivers, so I've spent quite a bit of time in the Emira, and that includes clocking 1,000 miles within the first 24 hours of ownership and a 2-day trip to the mountains with my niece Sam. So I've had a chance to put a few thousand miles on the odometer, have a few long trips, a few fun trips, and also enjoy just, sporting around town. So I think I've got a pretty good handle on what the Lotus Emira is like in terms of a driver's car and just living with it on a daily basis. And I just think it'll be interesting to see how I feel getting back into the seat of my Lotus Elise because it's a very different car. And I guess today we'll find out just how different. Thanks for tuning in to Game of Life 411. Thanks for tuning in to Game of Life 411. If you're not already a subscriber, please take a second now to subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll be informed every time I put out new content.
Hey, this is Pete making a post-production edit. After reviewing all the footage, you're going to want to watch to the end where I've got some key insights on the differences between the Elise and the Emira. But if you don't want to watch the entire video and want to skip to the end, go ahead and look in the video description where I've got everything chaptered. You can use the chapters to jump ahead to what you want. And I have a favor to ask. I'm always trying to improve, so I'd really like to know which of my videos is your favorite. So if you wouldn't mind posting a comment, just let me know which video you like best and why. Thanks so much and enjoy the rest of the video.
So first off, a couple things. I think I'm wearing the most appropriate shirt for today's adventure. And also I wanted to let you know, if you can see this thing on my forehead here, I have a long history of skin cancer that started very early in my life, around my early 30s. And so recently I had a Mohs procedure that cost me about 6 hours in the surgery center where they removed an invasive basal cell carcinoma. That was a new one for me. Thankfully it's not life-threatening, but it was pretty serious. And since I have almost 25 years of experience dealing with skin cancer, I'm going to put out some content around that to hopefully help others. I'm also going to try something new in this video that I've never done before, which is providing a running commentary from the cockpit of the Lotus Elise as I'm getting those first impressions. So we'll just have to see how that goes. There are a couple reasons why I've been driving the Lotus Emira exclusively the past 3 months. Primarily because it's a hell of a lot of fun and it's a brand new car and I just really wanted to enjoy it and explore it. But also what I've come to appreciate is that as I get older and less flexible and things like that, I really prefer to drive the Elise in the spring and the fall when I can drive it topless, because it is easier to get in and out of that car when you don't have the top in the way. And if you're curious how you get in and out of the Lotus Elise, which is quite a process, check out this video. The Lotus Emira is a whole new ballgame in terms of creature comforts and ease of getting in and out of the car. So I'm really looking forward to enjoying this during most of the year. But for the spring and the fall, I think the Lotus Elise is going to come down off the lift and I'm going to have fun with that and enjoy driving that. One of the things you might be wondering is, with all these great cars that I'm able to enjoy, what does my wife drive? Well, let me give you a little tour and show you. So in my garage, you've got the nice Lotus Emira, and then you've got my wife's Honda Odyssey van, and you've got a garage lift with my Lotus Elise on top of it. Now you might be wondering, why is my wife's van under the Elise instead of the Emira? There are some reasons for that, and if you want to check out one of these videos, then you can understand a little bit more about the unique constraints of our parking situation and garage and why we did it this way. But there really was no other clean solution. So at any rate, this is my wife's Honda Odyssey van. I think it's a 2017. It's not the latest model, but that's by choice. I pretty much would buy my wife just about any car that she would want, but she loves having this van, and we test drove the newer model and she did not like it. So we bought this one. It's the second to newest model, and she loves it because she is all about practicality. She does not understand cars like the Lotus Emira and why someone would love that car and why one would sacrifice some creature comforts in order to drive fast and have fun in a car. She just doesn't get it. So that's fine. We're different people. So she loves this Honda Odyssey van for its practicality. Even though our kids are grown and gone from the house, she still likes it for trips, and especially because she has kayaks. She has these 8-foot sit-on-top kayaks, and she loves kayaking. And she can fit 3 kayaks inside the van. Even though she has a roof rack, it's just more convenient to shove them inside. And by removing a few seats, she can fit 3 of them in there. And so she can take a couple to share with friends and go on her kayaking trips. So anyhow, that is why my wife has this Honda Odyssey van. It's also funny, it might be a little hard to see, but she had a little boo-boo here last year, and you can see if you look closely that this is crumpled in here, and it's been scraped up along the side of the car. You can see there's like one long scratch still here. Well, what happened was she was getting gas at the gas station and unfortunately scraped against one of those concrete posts and just ran it for probably 3 foot along the side of the car. Actually, you know what? It goes the full length of the sliding door and then into the rear wheel well. So probably more like 5 or 6 feet. At any rate, she doesn't care. You know, she doesn't want it repaired. In fact, it was covered with yellow paint and was very visible. And I came out one morning to try and be nice and buffed it all out. It took quite a bit of effort. And she actually, you know, was unhappy with that. She kind of wanted to keep it there. I don't know if it was a badge of honor or just a reminder, but yeah, she didn't want me to actually remove that paint. So anyhow, that's just a little bit about our situation. So I'm going to take the Emira for a quick spin before I get behind the seat of the Lotus Elise. Again, just want to have fresh in my mind the experience of driving in the Emira. But I'm not going to videotape that just for expediency. And if you'd like to see some video of me driving in the Emira and having some fun, you can watch these videos. Okay, I stopped mid-process lowering the Lotus Elise off the lift just to share my first impression. So if you're interested in how the lift operates or what type of lift it is, you can check out a couple of my videos where I go over that. It was the perfect solution for our unique parking situation and constraints here. And a lot of people are intrigued by this single post lift. It's pretty cool. Anyhow, my first impression, as I brought the car down off the lift, was that I noticed this, right? It's kind of hard to see, but this piece of trim here was hanging down and the adhesive has come off. And you might think, actually if you look here, I mean, the trim, if you look here, the trim does not cover the full corner, So you might think, oh, wow, that's just, horrible. I've heard that the Lotus Emira has much higher build quality and Lotus has solved all kinds of problems like that. Well, yes and no. Don't get me wrong. I think the Emira is an amazing car, but one of the very first things that I noticed when I got the car was this piece of trim right here. Just hanging off, not adhered properly. The other side is fine, right? It follows the edge of the trunk lid. And here this is just dangling in space. So I've yet to found time to actually address this. I'm not upset about it. I'm not worried about it. The car, like I said, is still amazing. The fit and finish and build quality is incredibly better than the Lotus Elise. But it's not perfect. And it's not like if you were to buy a BMW or a Porsche, those cars have amazing build quality, fit and finish. And those manufacturers have really put a lot of detail into it. And it's mostly automated. Some of the factories, like I go to the BMW Spartanburg factory in South Carolina every year. They have a performance center there where they offer driving schools. And so I've been going there for the last 20 years and it's a lot of fun. But I've also toured the factory and I get updates on their factory periodically. And it's like 98% automated. It's almost all robotic these days. And while Lotus has made a big deal about spending $100 million in their manufacturing facilities in Hethel, there's still a lot of manual process to building these cars. These still are essentially hand-built cars. I don't know what the percentages are, but it's nowhere approaching 98% like BMW. I don't know if anyone knows the answer to that question. I'd be curious if anyone's tried to do the math. It's like what percentage of the Lotus Emira is built by robots, by automated processes, versus what percentage of it is still hand-built. So at any rate, you're going to have some variation. I've found some other minor defects in the Lotus Emira, but again, nothing that I'm upset about, and quite frankly, I'm thrilled with the build quality of the Emira. It's just fabulous. And the luxury of the interior and everything is just wonderful. So I just wanted to share that first impression. Okay, it's time to take the Lotus Elise for a spin, and that's how I get in. Beautiful music. Okay, let's go. So first off, you can't see it, but the steering wheel in the Elise is so small. It's smaller than almost any other car. Well, it probably is smaller than any car I've ever driven. And I love it. It's great. You just turn it, turn it, turn it. You know, it's very easy to handle. The diameter of the steering wheel is very small also, so that's great. I don't have particularly long fingers or large hands. No comments, please. And so what that means is when I'm driving the Emira, which has a very beefy steering wheel, it's not just the diameter of the steering wheel, but the diameter of the wheel itself is quite beefy. And my hands get fatigued holding onto that for long periods of time. So I might actually look for a replacement steering wheel. You know, I usually don't change a lot of stuff in my cars, but that's something that I notice even on short commutes. So if any of you have found a better solution or a different steering wheel, one that the steering wheel itself has a smaller diameter for the Lotus Emira, I'd be very interested to hear about it. Okay, so I'm just going out of the driveway here. Okay, second thing to note, I have some new curb ramps that are allowing me to go straight out of my driveway, which is just so nice. I should have bought these years ago, but I didn't. I decided when I was getting the Emira that that was my second new car, right? The last one I bought was in 1992, and it was at least, you know, double the price of my next most expensive car I've ever owned. So I thought, okay, well, you know, what can I do to, you know, make it safer and facilitate its use and upkeep and whatnot. So I bought these curb ramps so that I wouldn't have to worry about navigating the curb up and down and going at angles, which is what I've had to do in my other cars, right? So the Alfa Romeo 4C, the Lotus Elise, you have to take those things at a 45-degree angle so you can do clearance and not scrape the front of the car. But I just, for the first time, am going down using the curb ramps straight out the driveway in my Lotus Elise, and I'm telling you, that's kind of cool. I feel kind of silly that I never thought to buy those before. But anyhow, there you go. So I hope that you're going to be able to hear me. This is the first time I've ever tried to provide running commentary while driving the car, and especially with the top off. So I don't know if this is going to pick up well. So if not, I'll just dub it after the fact, but fingers crossed. I did just take the Lotus Emira for a spin on my favorite compromise road. And I'm glad I did. I wasn't sure. I thought, I've been driving this car for the last 3 months. I probably don't need to take it out for a spin, but it was actually good because I got to experience it again and refresh my memory on how it is with a little bit more aggressive driving and some twisties. It definitely got my adrenaline up, so it definitely delivers in that respect. I intentionally wore the same shoes when driving the Emira, and these are just regular tennis shoes that I wear all the time, to see if there was any big difference in the toe box between the two cars. So the toe box in the Emira is still pretty tight, even though it's a larger car than the Elise. But I can feel a difference. I can tell, especially with my left foot, there's just not nearly as much space or travel available to me. But in terms of the clutch and the accelerator, those are still pretty tight in the Emira. Yeah, in the Elise, there's barely like maybe a ½ inch or an inch of clearance between my left foot and the clutch pedal when I'm putting my left foot onto the dead pedal. So there's very little travel there, very little space. You know, if I'm not careful, I'll catch the edge or the lip of the clutch as I lift my foot off the dead pedal in the Elise. There's definitely more room there in the Emira. As you drive the Elise, there are definitely more sounds. The body just rattles, as you're going over the road. So that's normal. You can even hear like the windows inside the door frame will kind of rattle back and forth when the windows are down. When you're driving with the windows up and a top on the car, you can hear wind noise much more so than in the Emira. When I drove the Emira a few minutes ago, I actually had the aircon off and the windows down just to give it as similar of an experience as possible to the Elise with the top off. Sadly, they will never make a convertible Emira. The sound of the exhaust in the Elise is obviously very different from the Emira. This Elise has a Larini exhaust, which I really enjoy. The differences are obvious. You've got a 4-cylinder versus a 6-cylinder engine, but also the stock exhaust on the Emira is nice sounding, but not super pronounced. That's something I noted in this review video. And if you're interested in hearing how the Elise's exhaust sounds, I've got some videos like this one where I specifically wired the car to capture the exhaust sound. I've even got a video where I test drove the Emira and had its exhaust wired up. So you can check it out here. One of the few mods I am considering for the Emira is a third cat delete, because I do know a guy who has installed that and have listened to his car briefly. I'd like to have him over sometime and really check it out thoroughly, maybe do a comparison video and then a separate video installing that third cat delete on my Emira. I do love a good exhaust sound, so I think that's the kind of mod I would probably enjoy. So when I took the Emira out a little while ago, I got lucky. I found some breaks in the traffic to where I could really, although briefly, exercise it. And like I mentioned, I got my adrenaline up at one point, which was nice, right? I mean, you like to know that you've got a car that's exciting enough to drive that you can achieve that. I really look forward to taking the Emira onto a track at some point so I can really put it through its paces. There's only so much I'm willing to do off track. Well, that was fun. Now, obviously, one of the things that's different is that the Elise has no power steering. And as I was turning around, backing up there, you can really feel it. So definitely that's a pro for the Emira with the power steering. It is hydraulic power steering, which is very different. Most cars nowadays don't have it, and I hear that it makes a big difference. I'm not sure that I can tell the difference, but I'm happy that other drivers and professionals like it. Makes me happy that they pay that kind of attention to detail. Here we go. This is the fun part. Okay, I'm going to just pull off here and collect my thoughts. Okay, so let's see. Let me collect my thoughts on the Lotus Elise first impressions after having driven the Lotus Emira for the last 3 months. First off, they really are completely different cars. I mean, they're both Lotuses, and you know, it's fun to compare and contrast, but there's probably more similarity between the Lotus Elise and the Alfa Romeo 4C that I owned previously than there is between the Lotus Elise and the Lotus Emira. I know that might be hard for some people to understand, and it depends on how you look at it. I mean, in terms of construction, obviously, the Emira and the Elise have very similar and very unique modes of construction, right? So it's a extruded aluminum frame epoxied together, and then both cars have the composite shell. Actually, all 3 cars do, both Lotus and the Alfa Romeo 4C. So that's similar, but the Alfa Romeo 4C has a carbon fiber tub, so it's a very different construction in that respect. So I love both cars. I wish I could, I mean, actually I love so many cars. The Alfa Romeo too, I was doing a video on selling it the other day and just reminiscing about owning it and how much fun it was, and I wish I could just keep and own them all, but that's just not possible. Oh, that video, by the way, is here if you want to check it out. I love the Elise for its simplicity, driving on these twisties. So the Emira, I felt very confident going around the corners, and you know, I could keep putting on the power. I really am looking forward to taking it on the track now and seeing how it performs when I can really push it to its limits, right? You can't do that today. The Elise, I kind of expected to handle even better on the corners, but I don't think I would say that it did. And again, I'd probably have to get it onto the track so I could take both cars to their limits, but I feel like I was actually driving faster around the corners in the Emira. And the Elise, while it was hugging those corners great, and don't get me wrong, it's a fabulous handling car and does really well in the curves, it felt like at the limits of speed that maybe the wheels were coming loose a little bit, right? So the grip that I was achieving with the Emira seemed superior to what I was achieving with the Elise. I don't know if that has to do with my tire selection. I think both cars have fairly new sticky tires, so I don't know. That's hard to know. And obviously I could get some stickier tires on the Elise, but you know, it may also have to do with its lightness, right? I mean, the fact that it's that light and that much lighter than the Emira just means that it's not going to stick to the road as well necessarily. So anyhow, I found that interesting. In terms of the steering, I mentioned the steering wheel earlier. Man, I wish I could put this Elise steering wheel in the Emira. I'm going to have to see what I can find. In terms of exhaust sound, I love them both. They're very different, but they're both, you know, awesome sounding cars. If you didn't hear it earlier, I am going to, I think, explore and get the third cat delete for the Emira. I think that's going to be a nice addition to that car and make it sound all the more exciting. Obviously, the Emira is much more spacious, so, you know, impression on the Elise, it's a snugger fit, but I like that about it, right? I mean, I love the fact that you're just part of this car, right? It's like a little go-kart. Definitely in the Emira, you feel like you're in a machine, right? So you're in a machine that is propelling you efficiently and at high speed, and it's exciting. In the Elise, you feel part of the machine. The machine feels part of you, right? It's somehow, I think maybe the size is part of it and the simplicity is part of it. I guess somehow there's still, even though they've maintained a lot of its analog components, there is still in the Emira this feeling of a lot of technology, right? You've got view screens up in front of you, and you know, there are just more things going on in the cabin. The Elise is so simple. I mean, it's kind of funny how simple it is, right? I mean, I don't even know how to explain how simple it is. Everything is just simple, simple, simple. Bare bones, you know. I mean, even the door panel here, I mean, you can see this is just, there's nothing covering it. This is just exposed body panel, right? So, you know, very, very simple. But I love them both. I love the Elise. My first impression is I'm so grateful that I can own and maintain both cars, and that I can have this opportunity to enjoy the Elise in the fall and the spring when the weather is going to allow me to drive topless, which makes it easier to get in and out. And I love that I'm able to now own and enjoy the Emira and the additional creature comforts that it affords, a proper air conditioning that in the months of July and August here in North Carolina, oh my gosh, they are a blessing, because you know, the Elise just doesn't have it. It was really an afterthought, and you'd think with the small volume that you have in this cabin that they could have put a functional air conditioner into the car, but you know, there you have it. It's well known for being insufficient. What else can I say? I love both cars. I love the Elise. I love getting back into it. I'm really looking forward to driving it over the next couple months while the weather allows me to. I would recommend both cars. It would depend upon what you're looking for, right? If you're looking for a raw driving experience and something you can toss around the track, I think the Elise is great. But I enjoy it for daily driving and just puttering around town. But if you want more creature comforts and you still want the exotic looks and you still want the rarity and uniqueness of owning a Lotus, then the Emira is wonderful. I mean, I do appreciate the Emira for the fact that Lotus built a car that people who love everything about Lotus but now would like some more creature comforts and modernity can get and enjoy, right? So I feel like I've got that in the Emira, and I feel like they struck a good compromise. They didn't overdo it like, you know, many of the modern sports cars in terms of electronics and creature comforts, and then subsequent weight and offsetting horsepower and torque to try and lug all that weight around. I think they achieved a good balance, and I say good job, Lotus. I mean, you know, a lot of people like to nitpick about things, and I've pointed out some things in some of my videos, but they're all minor. The Lotus Emira is an awesome car. Lotus cars are awesome. The Lotus Elise is awesome. And I hope all of you get the opportunity to experience it at some point, whether it's through ownership or a friend or renting one on Turo or, you know, trying one out on a track event. Just if you get a chance and you like cars, give it a shot. And for the Emira, heck, I mean, you can go down to your local Lotus dealer and take one for a test drive. So I would definitely recommend that. I mean, that's a great way to experience that car. It's not a very long experience, but still, it's a pretty special car and definitely worth giving it a shot. So thanks for watching, and look forward to more Emira content on the Emira channel. So, hey, I don't know if this is just me or if other people like this about manual cars, but I really like coasting. So I'm going to show you here in a second what I do sometimes at home as I'm going back to the house. There's a stop sign in my neighborhood at the top of a hill, and then I try to coast all the way down into our cul-de-sac, up over our curb into our driveway, and then into the garage. I don't have the garage door opener with me, but I'm going to try and do the rest of it. If you like coasting in your manual car, let me know. I'd be curious to find out if I'm just the only weirdo out there who likes it. Okay, here we're about to go. Now, to be honest, usually what I do is I come up on this hill with the stop sign and I'm cautiously looking every way, and then I'll just roll through it very slowly as the start of my little thing. So I actually stopped there because there was a car facing the other direction toward me. So now I'm just coasting. And I don't know if you can hear the rattling of the car. So I'm going downhill, picking up a little bit of speed, and then I'm going to turn into our cul-de-sac. So I have to hit the brakes a little bit. Now this is the first time I'm going over using the curb ramps, and we'll see, but usually I have to time this just right so I have enough momentum not to scrape the bottom of the car, but enough to get over this hump in our driveway. And then I have to do a wide swing to pull into our driveway and not lose too much momentum while navigating around all the other cars in our driveway, which includes the Emira in this case. I just got pretty close to it there. And there you go. You can't see it, but I'm facing the driveway door. I'm facing the garage door. It's right there in front of me. I'm actually surprised it worked out as well as it did. I thought it was going to be a huge fail.
It's your world and I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut to move your butt.
Please subscribe now. You know you want to. And why not go nuts and set notifications on so you'll be notified every time I put out new content.